Welcome back to the M Cube News Desk. I'm back with another very sad story tonight. A homeless mother of 4 children managed to lose 2 of her children overnight in a Detroit casino parking garage. The story is pretty much taken off. A lot of coverage so far. If you haven't seen the story, take a look-see here.
It's a tragedy hard to even comprehend. 2 children are dead tonight, found frozen to death inside a family van.
It appears a large family was living in the vehicle when it was discovered inside the Hollywood Casino parking garage at Greektown today. Fox 2's Jessica Dupnack has been following this story since she broke it, actually, and it is so sad that this happened to this family. What's the status now? What's going on with the mother?
Well, mom is being detained. Police will not say that she's arrested, but detained at this point. I want to paint a little picture of what these children have been enduring. When police went up to the van earlier today to seize evidence, they found just a couple of blankets inside, and the 2 children that were frozen to death, the 2-year-old wearing a T-shirt and a pull-up, and the 9-year-old wearing a T-shirt and joggers. Police say this is now a full-blown criminal investigation.
Was unnecessary. It didn't have to happen this way.
Investigators shaken at this unimaginable tragedy. One phone call could have prevented it all.
The female says child not breathing. They are car at Greektown Casino parking structure.
Around 1 a.m. Monday morning, a gray minivan pulled into the Hollywood Casino at Greektown parking structure, parked on the 9th floor. Either it ran out of gas or had a mechanical issue, leaving the family of 6 without heat.
Around noon, the mother inside the van, along with 5 children, noticed that one of the children wasn't breathing. And she called family to come help, to convey to Children's Hospital.
That was the 2-year-old. Then not long after, the mom called the same family member, their godmother, to say the 9-year-old child was not breathing. Both were taken to Children's Hospital downtown, pronounced dead. Doctors believe they froze to death.
Sad, very sad, especially as a father. I just can't imagine what the family is feeling. I wish it hadn't have happened.
The 2-year-old wearing a T-shirt and pull-up. The older child in a T-shirt and jogging pants, only a couple blankets in the car. The other 3 children also checked out at the hospital are expected to be okay. They're being placed with Children's Protective Services, and now their mom is detained, being investigated for possible criminal charges.
I don't think anyone really wants to think about that at the moment with the 2 children passed, but the reality is that the circumstances do have to be examined. We have to figure out how to go forward.
The city of Detroit has a helpline set up for unsheltered people. The number is on the screen. It's up and running 6 days a week.
When you call the helpline, there's a specialist that will answer the call and walk the family through the resources and services that are available.
Here in Detroit, there are over 1,400 beds for people that don't have homes, and about 110 of those are reserved for those drop-in emergency situations that this family could have taken advantage of. As far as the criminal investigation, Detroit police now working backwards. We do understand that the family did at one time live in an apartment on the city's east side, but they don't anymore. They were living out of that van. They're reviewing security footage here at Hollywood Casino to see if this is a place where they came often. Still a lot to unpack, and again, this is a full-blown criminal investigation now with mom. Reporting live in Greektown, Jessica Dupnack on The Edge.
Well, Jessica, wondering why it took the mother so long to realize 2 of her children weren't breathing or weren't responsive. Was there a chance, are police looking into the chance that she might have been inside the casino at one point and then came out and realized this?
That's a good question. We asked that earlier. There wasn't an indication that she was inside, more so looking for a safe, kind of tucked away place to park her vehicle. But those are questions that they'll be reviewing that video and possibly use it as evidence. But it just all happened very quickly. You're talking really only 11 hours or so without heat. It's unclear in that time when the children passed or if they had any predisposition, malnourished or anything like that, that made all of this happen much quicker.
Yeah, your heart just breaks for them, though. All right, Jessica, I know that was a tough report. Thank you.
Now, as with most news stories that happened instantly after the incident, like this one here, now Jessica Dupnack seems to be on top of this. Fox 2 seems to have the best coverage of this story out of Detroit, local Detroit station. But this story in particular was also had some bad information in it. The number of children in the van is said to be 4 of Miss Williams' kids, her mother also, and the mother had at least 1 child in the van. Now, some reports say 2. There was a 13-year-old, a 17-year-old, a 2, 4, 8, and 9-year-old. The 2-year-old and the 9-year-old were 2 of the 3 children fathered by Mr. Darnell. What's his last name? Curry. Mr. Darnell Curry fathered 3 of those children in the van. 1 other child was in there, possibly by a different father, and then 2 children who were the siblings of Miss Williams. Also, they report that that it was hypothermia that the children died of, that they froze to death. But as more facts come out, we're starting to find out that's not the case. It was likely carbon monoxide poisoning. But we're going to continue on to one more video here. Going to break down a little bit more information on this. Like I said, we got some questions. We have a lot of questions. A lot of stuff's being left out of this story. A lot of stuff is not coming through clearly. But let's go on to the next one here.
The mother of 2 children who likely died from hypothermia in a car is speaking out tonight. Her 9-year-old son and 2-year-old daughter were found unresponsive after spending the night in the Hollywood Casino parking garage.
Tonight, I sat down with that mother. She is 29-year-old Tateona Williams. She told me she and her 4 children had been living in their van for the past 3 months.
They said it was carbon monoxide. Or I don't know what it is. There's so many stories going around. I haven't even got the right story for my own kids.
Now, see, this raises a lot of questions. This particular story came up late in my research, and this is the first time I'm hearing about carbon monoxide poisoning, which is more than likely going to be the reason that 2 of these children stopped breathing in the middle of the night. As you know, carbon monoxide poisoning comes on slowly and without any kind of warning signs, without anything. You just basically fall asleep and don't wake up. The lady here is going to continue to break down why it's possibly, well, more than likely not hypothermia.
But one thing I do know is they could never be cold in that car. Cause I keep gas in that car. I do what I got to do to keep them kids with heat. So it's not hypothermia. My kids could have never froze to death. But I called everybody. I called out of state. I called different cities. I called Detroit. I got on the cam list. I've been on the cam list for a long time. Nobody. Every time I call, they say it's no shelter, no bed. I thought I was doing the right thing. I tried to keep them warm at night. That's it. I was just trying to keep them warm. Nobody helped me. It took me to lose 2 of my kids to get this help. I don't feel good about it.
If you ever find yourself without shelter, there are resources for you. Just scan the QR code on your screen to be taken to clickondetroit.com. We've posted those resources there. Also, everything we've learned so far about this horrible case.
Now, a lot of heat's been on this woman. You know, of course, everybody's thinking the woman just let the kids freeze to death because we got a lot of unanswered questions. As the reports that I'm getting so far is that they pulled into that parking garage at 1 in the morning. Why they pulled in at 1 in the morning? Now, she also says in another interview that she takes these children to school every single day. She keeps the van full of gas. So we did not see running out of gas event. More than likely that she's telling the truth. Now, I also know that she has to keep the car full of gas to make it through the night. Now, a minivan, V6 motor, probably burns about half a gallon of gas in an hour. So you figure 8, 9, 10 hours, you're looking at 4 or 5 gallons. That's easy to have in that car. And in Detroit, I mean, gas prices or whatever. But the woman is not penniless. The children she said they have everything they need. They got clothes, they got games, they got toys, they got electronics, they probably got phones. And then, mind you, she's taking them to school every single day. Now, you got all ages of children in that van. You have a couple that probably don't go to school, but you have elementary age, you have junior high age, you have high school age kids in that van. She's probably got to take them to 3 separate schools every day and pick them up every day. So the van is getting run. Now, does she have the money to maintain the van properly? Maybe, maybe not. Now, when you sit in a van, a car, in a parking garage all night, every night for 3 months, you're going to idle that van quite a bit. Now, when gasoline powered cars idle in extremely cold weather, they tend, the catalytic converter tends not to work as well, and it will release gases in the atmosphere. When you if the van or the car is not maintained properly, and the engine is not performing at peak, and it's not, letting too much gas go in the cylinder, not enough gas, different things can happen that can also cause that catalytic converter not to work properly. When the catalytic converter gets old, it stops working properly. And all the catalytic converter does is take the stuff coming out of the motor, the air, the fumes coming out of the motor, and takes the carbon monoxide out and converts it into carbon dioxide, water, steam. You get sometimes you get a little moisture out of a pipe, and a few other little inert gases that are not a problem. When you start getting carbon monoxide coming out of a catalytic converter, there is a problem, and you might not know it. Now, I have to wonder why the 2 children only 2 children that did not make it from this event, why they would only be the ones not to be breathing. And you got to think, if the exhaust is coming out, the bad carbon monoxide is coming out of the back of the car, and maybe 2 kids are sleeping in the hatch area, because you got to spread out. There's no way you're going to house 8 people in a minivan without using all the seats and the back. So possibly in a freezing cold night, the seals on the door may be frozen solid, may have broken off. This is not a new van. This is a 2002. And I know I've got cars that are old, not even that old, and the seals start to break off and you start losing seals. So all you really need is a little seepage. Now, they were sitting in a corner. It looked like, from the pictures I've seen, they were sitting in a corner inside this parking garage on the 9th floor. Now, mind you, temperatures in Detroit that night got down, the lows were 11 degrees Fahrenheit, well below freezing. Will freeze anything moist, except maybe antifreeze. But you're looking at a very, very cold night. If there was no wind whipping through that garage, and they're parked in the corner for hours upon hours, I mean, if they got there at 11 in the morning, if they got there at 1 in the morning, now the police officer says they called for help with this child that was not breathing at noon the next day. You talking 11 hours. But the mother, in another interview, says she went to wake up the boy, the oldest boy, to start getting him ready for school. You don't get nobody ready for school at noon. Now, I'm thinking they more than likely, either that's not a true story, she wasn't waking them up for school, maybe they were sleeping it off. We don't know. We need a factual timeline here. We don't really have that. But even at 11 degrees, I think it got up to in the 20s or 30s were the high for that day. You're sitting in that parking garage with the engine running, sleeping, and everybody tries to wake up at noon, which is extremely odd for a 9-year-old child. I don't know what 9-year-old child sleeps. They can go to bed at 2 in the morning. They up at 4. I don't know how they waited till noon to find out 2 of the children were unresponsive. That's a big question I got. There's also mention of the van cutting off in the middle of the night. And they called somebody, a family friend, for help with the van. Not with the children, just the van. I don't know. I haven't heard her say that. I haven't seen an interview yet where Ms. Williams says that or the mother says that. But there are reports that the grandmother called about the van. Now that raises the question of where was Miss Williams? Was she in the van? Were both parents, the mother and grandmother, were they both in the van all night with all the children? Or did they go gamble in the middle of the night? Were they at the same time? Did they trade off? One went in, one stayed behind. I don't know, but it seems like a lot of mismatch of reports or accounts between the mother and the grandmother if you're looking at all the interviews so far. But we don't know. We don't know if that van was fixed and then started back up running in the cold, bad catalytic converter. There's really no way around it. That night, that van was going to release carbon monoxide. There's no way around it. Whether it was the engine not performing right, whether it was shut off for a while, restarted cold, it will never get to operating temperature in 11 degrees Fahrenheit. So the catalytic converter can never operate efficiently under those conditions. Even if the van was running all night, things cool off. The engine only makes so much heat. The catalytic converter is sitting at the bottom of the van in the stream of air. So it will never really get that hot unless you're driving it. You're actually driving it, putting a lot of power to that engine, a lot of revolutions per minute, and you really heat that engine up. But it may have been producing heat because, I mean, the slightest bit of combustion will produce enough heat to warm the coolant, which warms the air for the inside of the car. Now, the air being drawn inside the car for heat runs past a hot coolant, but it also takes air in from outside. Even if you have it on recirc, you still gonna smell some of that outside air. Now, if the exhaust is leaking and there's carbon monoxide floating around that van, it's gonna get inside the van. There is 100% chance, in my opinion, that these children succumb to carbon monoxide poisoning. Now that makes it kind of takes the neglect thing out of it, but at the same time, we still got a lot of questions about the timeline, where the mother was, what time they called. I mean, you know, we're not even gonna get into the father. He's not even there. And if you are a father of 3 children, I don't care where you are in the world and where your children are in the world, they are your responsibility until you are dead. So the father is just as responsible as the mama for getting in this situation where they have to live in a van and where his children are not being taken care of or not being housed properly. And the mother is, for whatever reason, they had an apartment and lost it. The mama lost her job. She's getting ready to start a new job. Somebody's going to hire her back. We don't know. Mama has no criminal record whatsoever. Not as much as a traffic ticket. The father, Darnell Curry, all he's got is a couple concealed weapons charges. I mean, like 3 of them in Detroit. Felony charges. Don't know the disposition of those court cases, but all I know is he carries a gun. And he's currently living in Novi, Michigan, with his new girlfriend and her parents. You know, for whatever reason, this man did not want to be bothered with his own kids, and that's absolute terrible. But anyway, we're gonna go through a little bit of stuff, kind of explain how things work. Go on to the next story.
Austin police officers are not the only ones alleging their Ford Explorers are emitting dangerous carbon monoxide gas. Quita Culpepper and Tina Shively are in.
This is just another example of how carbon monoxide can get into a vehicle. It's a little problem some people are having with the police agency.
In the newsroom with details about a federal investigation.
That's right, Mike and Tina, you've been looking into this further, and you say this investigation, it's actually been going on for over a year now.
That's right. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is investigating 154 complaints. The owners of the Ford Explorers from model year 2011 to 2015 reported smelling exhaust inside their cars, and some had concerns about possible exposure to carbon monoxide. NHTSA says Ford Motor Company did issue 2 service bulletins to technicians to help fix what they believe is causing the problem. Some vehicle owners reported little or no improvement after their car was serviced. So we wanted to know, does this happen to other cars too? And if it does, how does it happen? So we went to the pros to find out.
Yeah, so if you hear something like that, that's pretty abnormal. This vehicle now cannot prevent carbon monoxide from actually getting made. Yeah, with the police.
Now, Henry Louis King Jr. is an assistant professor in the Automotive Technology Department at Austin Community College. He removed an oxygen sensor from a car to show us just how this problem might sound. He says an air conditioner sucking in gas from an exhaust leak under the car is actually the most common way that dangerous gases can get inside.
So places where you can actually get exhaust leaks are in these little junctions called gaskets. You can also have splits in the actual metal. Let's say you get into a minor fender bender or you accidentally jump over a curve, that can actually sometimes bend the exhaust system to where you're going to get a leak. So the leaks can occur from here all the way back to the rear of the vehicle.
That's one way. This is another.
Did you know that in cold weather climates, when you start your car in the morning, you can produce 80,000 parts per million of carbon monoxide? In this video, we're going to show you how to prevent that problem. This doesn't happen in Hawaii or Florida where it's warm, but it does happen at 70% of American cities where it snows and it's cold. During the night, the automobile and fuel is cold, and when you start your car, incomplete combustion occurs, and that creates carbon monoxide, and some of that carbon monoxide ends up in your car. For many years now, I've been testing this in my car, carbon monoxide phenomenon, and all the cars I've tested had carbon monoxide from ranges of 20 to 100 parts per million. And even at these lower carbon monoxide levels, that can cause health effects and low-level carbon monoxide poisoning and can make you sick. I remember one of my clients was on prescription drugs because she thought her house made her sick. Well, her husband would back his car into the garage. He would start his car in the garage with the door closed. He then would open the door, pull out, close the door, and go to work. Trapping all that carbon monoxide from the cold start in the garage would seep into the house slowly, sickening his wife.
I mean, there you have it. Like I said, my professional opinion in this situation says it's carbon monoxide poisoning. Now, you're going to get into the question of, was the mother there in the van? Was the grandmother there in the van? Were the kids left alone? I say we will find out. They will find footage in the casino of them walking around. I'm sure there's footage in the parking structure of what happened, the goings on in that van, and I'll be very anxious to see those things. However, even if mama and grandmama were in that van awake all night with the kids, this would still have happened. If it's indeed carbon monoxide poisoning, there's no way around it. Those children would have been asleep and passed in their sleep no matter what. It eventually would have taken over the entire van. Now, like I said, they were probably closest to the leak, and that's probably what happened. And eventually it would have taken over everybody, except for the getting up going to school part. Now, that's why I lean to believe that she probably noticed the one child being unresponsive a lot earlier than noon. Now, like I said, I don't know why they were driving around at 1 a.m. when they entered the garage. That's the record. 1 a.m. they entered the garage. The record shows them coming in there. I mean, the casino parking structure is a perfect place. If you have to crash in your car overnight, parking is free from what I understand. and people are coming and going all night, so you might not raise any eyebrows from security. I mean, Walmart offers parking in their parking lot for people in campers and whatnot. I mean, but they're talking 11 degrees temperature outside is no good for anybody. I don't care if you are in a car. It's just no good. And I mean, we're talking a 2002 Chrysler Town and Country minivan. Just the fact that Ms. Williams had this van for her kids, for whoever, everybody she was living with, shows me that at some point she was taking care of her business. And at some point, she lost everything. And she's got friends, and she's got family, and she's got people around, and for some reason, they could not be there. They could not stay there. Now, she said she didn't even want to ask these people because she knows she got so many kids. I mean, who wants 4 kids staying all of a sudden in your house? I mean, if they're not your absolute nephews and nieces, you know what I mean? It's a tall thing to ask anybody. So I'm thinking maybe her family kind of knows that she messed up somehow. Something's going on in her household. She brought it on herself, so there'll be a little lack of sympathy there. I don't know. We will find out as things go on and as reports and facts continue to come in about this story. But tragic as it may be, this kind of thing shouldn't be happening. And I mean, prayers go up for the remaining children and the parents here who are dealing with a lot of grief. And I just hope we come to a quick end to the story, and let's do better next time, please. Thank you for watching.